Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Minds and Money TV. My name's Jonathan Leader. I'm the head of investor content over here at Minds and Money. I'm lucky enough to be joined this week by George B. and Luke Norman, who are the president and CEO and chairman and co-founder, respectively, of US Gold Corp, trading under USAU on the NASDAQ. Welcome, gentlemen. How are we all today?
All
Great,
good.
thank you. Yeah, thanks for
Excellent. So, and just for any listeners who may not be aware, this provides a brief overview of the company and particularly the CK Gold project.
Yes, of course. Look, the project's located just outside of Cheyenne in Wyoming. We're an hour and a half due north of Denver, Colorado. The CK, the deposit was not discovered by us, but we took it on about 4 years ago in terms of wanting to develop the project. So George came and joined the team in 2020, and we've since taken the project through from a PEA all the way through to permitting.
Okay, perfect. Now, just also about the ore grade itself. What are we looking at here? Obviously, this is a copper and gold project, primarily gold. What does that ore grade look like? Projected mine life as well, I think would be useful for people to know.
All right, so we're in a shear zone in granodiorite. The ore grade is about 0.7 grams per ton on a gold equivalent basis, but it's made up of copper and gold. And we have some really high grade at surface, which is exposed. It's actually part of an old mining district, and the old timers did have some initial workings there. And currently, what we're looking at is a 10-year mine life. However, we know that the deposit extends at depth and down to the southeast. So from that perspective, we just looking at our initial permitted 10 years of mine life, but there is a fair deal of upside.
Fantastic. Now, speaking of the location, obviously, getting projects online in the United States, there is a stringent process attached to that. Talk to us about what it was like working with the state of Wyoming, as well as any federal bodies that you had to work with to get this project online.
Well, the beauty of this project, Jonathan, is we did not have to deal with any federal agencies. I'm sure as a lot of mining companies out there appreciate, the federal agencies are all basically at a standby right now. You've got all sorts of bureaucratic and governmental issues. So we went through a very stringent process with Wyoming, with the state of Wyoming, but it's a process. We dealt directly with boots on ground people. They were, 20 minutes away from the actual mine site in Cheyenne. And it was a due process. Again, no less stringent than it would have been with the federal agencies, but dealing with real people in real time had a huge effect on us getting this through and done in just over 3.5 years.
Brilliant. And for investors who are well experienced and versed in the space, they want to know that is a very impressive timeline indeed, particularly when working with American bodies. Talk to us about, I imagine a big part of that would have been the vision for economic development within local communities surrounding the project. Talk to us a little bit about that, so the vision for job creation in particular.
Well, look, we're situated in the southeast corner of Wyoming, as Luke says, 20 miles outside of Cheyenne, Wyoming. We're actually three miles north of an existing really large open pit quarry. So people are familiar in the area with the mining activity, and Wyoming is a mining state. Certainly in Wyoming, a lot of the revenue from the state comes from coal, oil, gas, trona. Coal is diminishing in importance as we look at carbon. So from the perspective of developing an open pit copper and gold mine, diversifying the resource portfolio in a resource state is very interesting. We will be creating jobs and jobs where people can go home at night to the city of Cheyenne. And generating revenue, royalties from the mineral wealth that we're exploiting because we're on state land, and certainly taxes. So the job creation, very important at a time when there is a challenge to some of the other sectors in our area.
No, that's fantastic. I'm sure will be very encouraging, particularly for the people of Cheyenne to hear. Now, granted, obviously, different resource investors they have different project stages they like to engage at. Give us an idea of how far are you from production? And I'm George B. Obviously, I know you've got a great deal of experience of actually building mining projects and taking them from that sort of development stage all the way through to production. What are you seeing as CK that makes this project so encouraging, and how does it all compare to some of your previous projects?
All right, so look, I'm 45 years in the business, 16 of those years with Barrick, and developed mines down in Peru, Chile, Argentina, and the United States. So when I look at the CK Gold project, things that appeal to me, it's just like real estate, location, location, location. We're on the interstate highway system, so with roads, power lines, and the nearby workforce. So in terms of developing this project, it's dead simple. We've got a lot of mining talent around us, a lot of contractors well versed in the industry, and we're surrounded by the OEMs and equipment and supplies providers. So from that perspective, we're not in the back of beyond. We are in a situation where it's easy to develop, no remote infrastructure, man camps, and so on, which really helps our costs to get into production.
Perfect. Perfect. If you were to give us a broad timeline of when you'd expect or how long you'd expect the build to take?
Yeah, look, from the perspective of we started, as Luke mentioned, back in 2020, permitting, establishing our baseline, permitting. We received our permits, mine operating permit this year, and we're now at the financing stage. Once we've got the financing package in place, it's about an 18-month build. So we're looking around 2026 if financing goes smoothly.
Which in mining years is days, really. 18 months is a very impressive timeline, indeed. And just taking a step back now, looking at the capital structure for the overall company, it's been a challenge. I think it's fair to say, a challenging environment for capital raising for junior miners, generally speaking. You guys seem to have bucked the trend side. It's also about the current capital structure and your vision for financing the project moving forward.
Yeah, of course. So as you mentioned earlier, this trading symbol USAU, we're listed on NASDAQ, which is very unique. As you know, for this sector, very few of us US-based miners listed on NASDAQ. So extremely tight share structure, 10.7 million shares outstanding. That's foreign to a Canadian listing or certainly an Australian listing, of course. We're very, I guess, protective of that structure, excuse me. So clearly we're not going to race out of the gates to raise capital for this project and just blow apart and dilute that structure. So we're in the midst of some other optimization studies. We've got a pre-feasibility study that's underway, an update, because we're getting close to the 3-year mark on our 2021 report. And we're doing some other optimization work, but I think this project is so unique that it's offering us access to other portals of capital outside of the usual sources. So, it's the story's yet to be told in that regard, Jonathan. But we're talking to some pretty interested parties that I think we can find some solutions that will not see a mass dilution, but we'll be able to build CK.
Right. No, exciting times ahead, I'm sure. Now, thinking about the gold market specifically, and obviously as far as spot prices go, at least, we're in almost historically good times. The last I checked today, I think it was around 24.5 was the spot price. It's been hovering above 2,000 though for quite some time now. It used to be, I remember back in our conference in Miami, the big question was whether or not gold will break 2,000, whether or not that break will hold. It certainly appears to. How does that impact your thinking about the market and sort of the way you move forward in the sort of, I guess, near to medium term?
Yeah, I think that it's an inelastic separation right now between the prices of the underlying metals and the equity prices. And I look at us and CK, for example, with 24 $150 gold, with copper up in the fours, recently up in the fives. There's just been a bit of a dearth of capital flow into the sector. And again, I think that's maybe reflective of some of those governmental overreaches within North America, not just the US, but in Canada, in terms of getting these projects permitted. It's slowed down some of that capital inflow. But I'll go back to the word inelastic. I think that's not going to last for forever. And we're going to see these capital inflows back into the sector. And when they will, they're going to be looking for projects and opportunities like ours. And the amount of bucket-ready projects that are out there in the marketplace right now, Jonathan, are very few and far between. Probably count them on one hand. Yeah. So we just continue again to optimize and work around this project and show increased and other value opportunities. The sector is going to come and light back up, and I think it'll all happen in very near term.
I'm tempted to agree with you, and I also think as a general message for particularly mining companies out there, this is where I think this is the kind of environment where quality, I think, will really differentiate itself in terms of the equities prices. Investors are nuanced, they're educated in this space, particularly more experienced ones, and they can tell a great project from perhaps some of the lesser great ones, shall we say. And hopefully USA Gold will certainly be on the right side of that equation. Just thinking elsewhere, obviously, the CK Gold project is not your only one. Tell us a little bit about, just before we wrap up, just tell us a little bit about what's going on down in Nevada. It sounds exciting. It's all a slightly earlier stage exploration project, but certainly a promising one.
Yeah, look, it's a big one. It's a monster. It's a district scale domal project sitting very close to the Cortez complex. We've done a bunch of work there on surface and a little bit of scout drilling, very little scout drilling. Got a huge structural corridor rolling through this 20+ square mile land package that, from all our mapping and sampling, stratigraphic work, lithology, it is the same geology, same rock package as the Cortez complex. It's a multi-intrusive, multi-pulse system that, will be a standalone mining district one day. But, lo and behold, we're in a bad marketplace from an exploration perspective, raising real dollars. This project's going to need to be tackled with real dollars. And when I say that, $20-30 million go-getter type drill program. So it's a great project to have in the quiver, sitting in the background, but CK being the focus, of course. And you've got the lottery ticket to the gold millions if we get into Keystone one day.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, to be fair, good segue to my final question. Any exciting news that people should be expecting down the pipeline in the near term? Sort of anything you'd like to close off with, really?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're working towards an updated pre-feasibility study. We think that'll be reflective of the headline numbers that we had seen in our previous 2021. The big shifts being definitely CapEx will be up. We've been in a highly inflationary environment for quite some time, but metals prices are up, as dramatically or more. This project proved its viability in 2021 with that PFS, and all-in sustaining cost of around $800 an ounce on a $1,625 gold price. So we think that margin is going to remain intact, even with today's gold prices, possibly even be slightly more robust in terms of that margin. So as a company, we're just going to continue our optimization process. There was a lot of things that were exposed to us through the engineering and permitting that are other value adds to this project. I won't get into them today, but we think, over the next few months, we're going to be able to keep the market well apprised with some exciting news that show this project to be more and more valuable.
Excellent. Okay, well, listen, George and Luke, thank you so much for joining me today. Just one more time, everyone, that is US Gold Corp. They're trading under the USAU on the NASDAQ. I've been Jonathan Leader from Mines and Money. We'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.